Alright, I didn't really know if I need the amplifier of my voice because I feel like I'm loud enough, but let's see. So today we'll be talking about AI design patterns and AI storytelling. So what has changed for design in the past years? It really shifted from designing from deterministic systems and systems where we can predefine the output that the user will see to probabilistic systems. So we do not really know what will happen. Previously, we knew that if the user will click the button, they will get the form. Now we query the chat, and the output that we'll get is not exactly clear. And another part of the big change that has happened recently is introduction of conversational AI. So it's predicted that conversational AI market will grow almost 4 times in the next 5 years, which is another design challenge that we need to keep in mind. First of all, when we are designing for the conversational user, plus we are designing for probabilistic output, we need to keep in mind that the relationship that we are building is much more nuanced, and we are much more responsible for the emotional relationship with the product. Previously, a specific product would only just drop the form or move on the table and we would be 100% sure about this output. But now with probabilistic systems and with unclear chat responses, we are 100% responsible for the impact that this experience will make on the user. So the question that I'm asking myself quite often when I'm designing AI products is, what kind of relationship I'm building with the users? What kind of experience they have when they are interacting with my chat or with any AI-enabled feature of the product? And these days we would like to think about these products as agents, and we like giving them human response. So for some reason, AI agent, which has nothing to do with human, nothing to do with having a face or character, suddenly became a human, AI human. For some reason, we decided that this is the best way how we can build a relationship with the system, we can build trust for the system, and build a better engagement and a better output for the user. So, which brings us to the first question. How do we build trust with such systems which are undetermined? Well, pretty much like we are building trust with humans. You meet a person, you look at them. Do they look like they're taking care of themselves, clean clothes, do they show up on time? You're creating some expectations if they are starting to speak or act. And then, as they are slowly progressing in whatever they are doing, we make a conclusion. Can we track them or not? It's exactly the same as AI system. We open a website or a product, we make a decision. Can I trust the system or not? Did they take care of the user experience on the primary level? So is it actually branded? At least, is it well designed on the level of spacing? Is it well thought of? Well thought out? And then we are judging the experience in itself. I've taken a look at 3 different popular chatbots and asked them the same query. The query was psychology shifts and engines. And I've taken a look at the examples of the answers. ChatGPT gave me a very interesting answer, so it was a pretty long answer, but as you can see, it was structured in a very bold manner. So ChatGPT gave me bullet points, a lot of emotional language, using empathy, a couple of links, and that's pretty much it. So it felt like I'm chatting with my friend, not really a very advanced system. When I was chatting with Claude, maybe because I have a paid subscription, or maybe that's how it's built, but the answer you can see it's distinctly different. So he started diving into his sheets this year, giving me much longer answers, diving into the details. Perplexity was down to code. Again, we can see lots of references. The output is well structured, it is detailed. We can query the system further, and Perplexity as usual gives us 5 follow-up questions. So the same question, and like I mentioned earlier, we cannot exactly know what will be the output. As designers, we have to define how the output will look like and how to make it clear. All of these 3 systems are achieving this as well, but the relationship that we are building with the user is totally different. One of the things like when I'm chatting with Perplexity, I'm chatting with my authoritative tutor. When I'm chatting with ChatGPT, because like I'm chatting with somebody who just maybe my neighbor or found Jim. Aside from that, I wanted to talk about different AI products and new experiences, new patterns that are emerging in design aside from these conversational experiences. And let's take a look at Illicit. Illicit is a very interesting product because it is AI-first solution for research. And we'll take a look at a couple of these products, again, to understand how they are approaching the output generation. In this case, I have queried it for AI in maternal health, and look what's happening. So first, it gives us very simple thought process, so searches for the papers, finding the concepts for each source, removing duplicate concepts, and generating the final answer. Well, this is quite simple. But in a larger scheme, I can also see a different, much deeper dive into what is happening. Probably it's hard to see here, but trust me, it says screened in 9 papers utilizing criteria. And then it lists the specific criteria. So it not only references the general structure of how deciding which sources are good for the output, but also gives me an insight into how it filters the sources down. So we are building the trust that I mentioned earlier with the system on the very first step. But what's happening after that? The system created the full paper for me. I gave it very, very minimal insight into what I want to achieve or what I want to get, and it already created the full paper. It feels like there is somebody to control and decided what would be the best for me, which is a fabulous approach in some cases. I can just check if the references that were used are credible. I can read the article, make some adjustments, but by and large, the system has taken care of everything. Just like with Perplexity and with Code, they have dived into the matter and generated the output. It is a very different approach from generation sentence by sentence. This product allows us to co-create this paper or article together with AI. And on each step, I can accept, I can adjust, I can change the sources used for generation of each sentence, and I can try again. Which means that user and the system are co-creators. It's a very different experience compared to the first one, where the system decided this is the output that you want, probably, please use it. In this case, we are just jamming together and coming up with the best output. I can even edit the sources, change the narrative, so I'm the owner of the final output. But what if, for example, I don't really like what is generated by the system? It helps them use another solution that helps us create articles and research papers. And here, instead of forcing the user to go into the chatbot and shifting their attention to a different portal, we allow them to interact in line with text, in this case, also media, and to shift the responsibility from the user on deciding what they want to edit. We also suggest them smart options. For example, I want to add an example or create a list, or maybe transition between ideas. So I don't need to actually think of what would be the best for me to do here. Because one of the biggest problems in these systems is that I need to decide what I want to change. And sometimes it's hard to actually pinpoint what is wrong. You know, we feel something is wrong, but how do we know how to express this intent? Sometimes we don't. We can generate entire paragraphs, and again, we are working step by step, either chapter by chapter or page by page. Still, the process feels a little bit more collaborative compared to generation through paper written prose. Here I can also select the text that I want to edit, and I can also almost chat with in this case, I don't remember the number of the name of the product, but I can chat with it and in the interactive manner almost keep editing till I'm happy. What about other types of systems? For example, if we need to work with media, would it work the same way? This is part of Figma experience, Figma product. I can select the component and again ask for the edits, contextual development in this case. Similar experience within the task editor. I can create new task. I can also revert back. And one of the most fascinating facets of this experience is how we can communicate the output in a better way compared to previous text-based outputs. Because when we are talking in the chatbot, most probably, we have seen structured output, structured in the paragraphs, bullet points, sometimes tables, but that's not much, right? So still there is a lot of text, a lot of content that we need to process. How can we help the user to arrive at the insight much faster? Consensus is another research solution. I can query it, for example, carbon capture technology, readiness, and I will get their response. In this case, I can see that they have generated the timeline for me, evolution of carbon capture technology readiness. In this timeline, I can click on any point and see the details of the references, what has influenced this shape or this location. Again, it's much easier for me to scan this output. Same with deciding on different opinions on this topic. It's much easier for me if it's color-coded and I can get a quick snapshot instead of processing pages by myself. Same with here the evidence and color-coding evidence strengths. And on the one hand, when I'm looking at this interface, it feels like it's almost childish. It's simplified to a manner that we have short bullet points, short phrases, colors, media maybe. Is this enough to build trust? And the question here is that if you remove the referencing and the papers, it probably would be way too simplistic indeed. In case of consensus, which is built on referencing the specific research papers and specific paragraphs within these research papers that support the point, that's not the case. That's why in each of these rows we have these multiple references. I can again click and dive into it. One more fabulous example, I created this system for the best places to build a restaurant. Immediately, in a matter of seconds, I can see where that is. But what about more advanced interfaces? Can we create an interface that would be interactive with the user within, for example, trip planning? Because we might have a simple chatbot that will help us build the trip, but would that be the best, the most engaging, and the easiest way for the user to plan the trip? Likely not. What if we could build more emotional relationship with the user by showing them the map, the media, the photos of these experiences, also enabling them to interact with us? For example, I can book a trip here. I can look within this map. I can see where exactly I will be living. I can also obviously query the chatbot, make adjustments to the map, make adjustments to the entire trip, make it cheaper, define what I want to see, but in general, we have created a new interface for the user to interact, to again, make the experience much more easy and will be better stored. This seems like a little bit overloaded experience, and it is a tool that is used for sourcing the candidates. I have created it to find designers, and what it produced is a list of designers. Here you can see them, quickly see the past experience, get the references in the portfolio, key skills, and all of this is again supporting us from the chart-based experience where we would need to either work with a table like this, which is a lot of data we have to process, or work with very long list. Sometimes we need to create extra media to support the point. In this case, I queried the analytics product to analyze my traffic once. Aside from just producing the long text output analysis and supporting it with some tables, it created extra charts just to support the point and make it more interactive for me. And my favorite part is how media generation is shaping using AI. Again, a simple example, probably all of us have tried generating an image using Gemini or ChatGPT, just put it produces the image. Sometimes it produces a couple of images, so you need to select which one serves the best purpose and continue querying to the typing. But what if we help the user to express their intent in a more smart way? We are shifting right now to canvas-based creative workflows where I can either create a prompt myself or help a user create this prompt. For example, if the prompt is too short, I will enrich it to make sure that we are creating the output that will be as close to the desirable one as possible. But what's more, quite often we need to tweak the output a little bit, or quite a lot. And sometimes we need something more than just a prompt. For example, in this case, you can see the settings below the generated output. The settings include the resolution, seed, style, and more. So instead of forcing the user to think of all of the possible settings they need for this image, we are servicing them immediately. And the changing these settings is a matter of 1 to 2 clicks instead of trying to recall what I needed to include in this prompt. Same idea, we are importing one image, one reference, and using the smart presets, we can generate multiple results here. Or, again, we can use a text-based experience. We can query the system to create videos and work in these videos, and again produce more assets. So it is a combination of inline editing and editing using the chat. You can see the inline editing in this case. The product generated this image, and we can still change the resolution instead. Copy this product and turn it into text, image, or video. And my favorite example here is how we can make the how can we surface the intent for the user using very, very simple abstraction and turn it into high quality output. Sometimes in media, it's very hard to express what exactly we want to get. We might have this image in our head, but expressing it using words is tough. It's tough even for designers, and definitely hard for others who do not have vocabulary for this. But everybody can draw, and in this case, I draw a very simple building where the system what it should be in the end. It should be front-facing architecture and brutalist building concrete, and that's what I received. Even more live, I can draw on top of my image and it will draw the output immediately. Even more, I can create extra imagery prompting techniques. So thank you very much for your attention and
yeah, anyone have any questions for Mariia? Or
sorry, I missed the name of the platform that you used. Which platform? I missed the name that you of the platform that you were showing. There are dozens of platforms. The one with the first one. Listed. Okay, so you just use a different one for each use case, yeah? Yes. Okay. Thank you. Yes.
To conserve maybe credits, let's say for the core cloud models or for the OpenAI models as well. In the future, do you envision sort of like a workflow or information architecture to be more instruction-led instead of like question-led? Because I'm assuming if the more words you put into the model, obviously the model would only consider the first half and the last half, and so the middle sort of dries out. And with models maturing over time, you not only have to account for model drift, but also model quality and degradation. So in the future, with AI being embedded in like systems and applications instead of being like a standard chatbot, do you think it would be the right architecture would be more like sort of instruction instead of us asking questions?
Yeah, definitely. I think there is a place for the controls, which help us define the output much faster than writing it using free prompts, free-text prompts. So surely, if we want to produce the best output for the user, that would definitely be a shift towards controlling the output with smart controls, and maybe starting with high quality first either output generated by the system based on the expected intent of the user, or helping them frame the intent in the best possible way. For example, it's clear, just a simple abstract image is significantly better than prompt, say, 20 pages long prompt. So definitely much better means to express intent in character and free text.
Sorry, for a follow-up question. Then would the priority be model freshness instead of context window? Because you don't need that many words to describe like a simple output. Then you can use like smaller SLMs or even like LLMs to do the same task.
Yeah, I think so.
And what do you think of harness engineering taking over this space in terms of having like multiple agents doing different aspects of it, and then like spawning its own reviewers and then accepting it and things like that, and then evolving into a much better piece of art or story that you talk about? So
yeah, sure. In terms of agent usage, it is something that should not be surfaced to the user, or at least should be hidden as much as possible, because it's not the user's problem to be diving into the technical detail of it. So if we can save the user from knowing that they have used agent that analyzes the image, an engine that analyzes files, sources, if we can save them from that, that would be the best information. Surely if that helps us optimize the process and probably helps us with the latency, that is an optimal solution. But from the user experience standpoint, the least amount of technical burden, is the best in my opinion.
So do you see, this seems to be evolving towards some kind of creator economy, indeed, right? Like if that is coming in, then the users would want to have more empowerment in their hands to modify and maybe not get into technical details. Like, for example, I can write Adobe Photoshop as a software, but I can't really edit photos because there are so many amazing plugins and tools that I'm not aware of, which a photographer would be aware of, right? So like a creator economy coming out. So do you see that as well evolving from this?
Yeah, I think regardless of the user, if we are speaking about the mass market, we still want to produce this experience that is as simple as possible. unless they are defining some unique case, for example, in this case actually, it was the creator creating workflow, but it is an advanced workflow, okay? You need to keep in mind that I have included this as an example, not something that will be used by 90% of people. So yes, it does include the control and smart presets, but it's not exactly the experience that we want to subject all the users to have. So prompting further to prompting using simple abstractions.
Thank you.
Great. I wish you were around the other day when I was using Gamma and I prompted it to make sure that all of the bodies in my photos had heads. I was running out of credits. Pizza, everyone, let's grab pizza and come back here in about 10 minutes.